We this session on manufacturing IT summit is wonderful event, and as Nikita says, it's the 18th edition and one of the best in the industry in Asia, South Asia, Asia. And I'm thankful to the team for inviting me to give this talk. What I intend to do is speak a little bit about few things that I see from my experience over the last 20 years in various industries, and as recently, right now I've been in the energy sector, and I see some of the interesting things about how this can be implemented. And so the title of my talk is Taming the Deep Disruptions in Industry 4.0 Era. And before I actually speak on any of the topic, I really need to thank a number of people, because without that, nothing can be there, especially my primary school teachers to all the way to my PhD advisors that enabled me to be really learn things and able to talk to all of you. And of course, my family and my friends and a lot of co-workers. So what I present to you is learnings from a lot of co-workers over the last decade, 2 decades or so, both in academics as well as in industry. And of course, all of you, if you are not here, what's the point of giving a talk? So thanks all of you and the team at 𝐄𝐝𝐢𝐭. Since Nikita already mentioned a little bit about my career, I'm not from the oil and gas industry, as they say, or energy industry. I'm an academics, PhD in quantum chemistry, turned around into a technologist, and then became an executive. And now I do whatever fun I can do. And of course, I'm associated with multiple universities as faculty as well. So bringing all that experience together in terms of how to transform an industry is what I want to talk about. And if you look at it, what is it? We have all known about Industry 4.0 era. Everybody talks about it. There are so many things that you can look at the definitions of it, what it is. And from my perspective, it's all about actually about how to create value from the data. So that means you need to create various cyber physical systems, Internet of Things or industrial Internet of Things, the objects. So, one is the term that IoT is so common that everybody uses, but Internet of Things by definition means the thing has to be connected. So you can put sensors on the field, and if they're not connected to a network, then what's the point of such a device? Because you cannot maximize the value from such a device. So in that sense, you have to have a very robust IT and OT integration. And I don't know if people do use the word IT-OT convergence more commonly, but I feel that convergence means you're trying to narrow down the focus, whereas integration means wherever it is, you can actually take advantage of it. So if we really do that with the right kind of sensor technology, the right kind of networks, the miniaturization of the technology itself, even legacy industries like manufacturing, refineries, and other energy sector companies, transportation, can take significant advantage of the big emerging technologies. And why is it important? So if you look at various industries, especially if you want to look at very complex industries, pretty much everyone, is big or small, they are all facing what I call a deep compounded disruption. What does that mean? If you look at what happened in the last decade or so, digital has become a key theme, and digital maturity of various companies and organizations is really very limited. In fact, there is so much confusion about that term that people are talking about digital as digitization or digitalization, or sometimes digital transformation. And people just use these terms randomly in many cases, and which doesn't really bring any value to the organization. In fact, there is a very nice value relationship between digitization, digital transformation, and then digital disruption. I speak about that in a later forums in more details. And I'll share why it is important to understand those terms. So digital maturity is certainly one of the biggest challenges that we are actually facing as industries. Second one, there's a lot of conversations about energy transition, net zero, carbon capture, and whatnot. Now, people might think that energy transition is only about energy companies. That's not true, actually. It impacts everyone, the whole ecosystem. Whether you are a manufacturing company, whether you are a data center, whether you are transportation, it doesn't matter. This whole energy transition landscape is so complex that it will have a significant impact across the industrial ecosystem. And of course, it does have impact on smart buildings and smart houses and whatnot. And the third disruption is the rate and the pace of evolving emerging technologies that we are not able to keep up in terms of adopting the same technologies. For example, my classic case is, for our personal life, we cannot live without search technology. Everything we do is in search, right? But when it comes to commercial complexes or industries, how good are the search engines that are deployed within the intranets? Pretty much not very valuable, because what you can search is what is hard-coded on your website or your intranet site, or maybe few other libraries and things like that. But when it comes to operational data, when it comes to metadata of your equipment or repair reports of your equipment or deployment histories, nothing is actually searchable. That's all going to different silos trying to find that information. The technology is mature, almost 30 years plus now, but its implementation in the industrial settings has been very poor. And in fact, most knowledge management system, as we know, are not worth anything, because we are still struggling to train our workforce, and especially the new generation of workforce that we talk about. And what happened last year or 2 years ago, like that's something nobody actually thought could be a disruptive force, that is the pandemic. Sadly, it has been sad for as a humanity, but at the same time, I think it has woken up a lot of people in the industrial sector that it is time to leverage this emerging technology, increase the digital maturity across the organization, so that they can actually create value for the organization. Now, while all these disruptive forces work in tandem, so to say, that's why it becomes a highly compounded disruption landscape that we are all facing. I've been in the energy industry for last 8 years, and I can tell you that in a systematic manner, one can actually really tame these disruptions by really thinking about various aspects of it. For example, very early on, I spoke and I wrote about what is called data democratization, and now almost that was in 2015 in this industry. And today we are talking about data democratization almost 7 years late or 8 years late in many industries. A lot of applications are being built in that space, but the pace of leveraging these technologies has been pretty slow. And then if you look at digital transformation as well, how much value can be generated. In 2016-17, we actually did some work for some companies in the Asia Pacific region, and we really showed that significant amount of money can be saved by even like leveraging unstructured data. And this paper is well published in the magazines in energy sector. But what we realized that in order to really create that value proposition to adopt the digital maturity aspect of it, we started a concept called Smart Lab or Smart Approach to actually take the advantage of it. And since then, various in the energy sector, we were the first one to kind of announce cloud platforms called Open Earth Community to increase the pace of innovation in this industry. So you have to take the industry view rather than just a small company view, and that changes the mindset. So in energy sector, many of you might have heard that there is some talk about OSDU, which is open source data universe for the oil and gas industry. Now that is almost 5 years after Open Earth Community was actually announced by us. It's again a consortium based. It's industry partners have to come together, and that changes the mindset actually for all the people associated with it. And now when you have leveraged the computing platforms, you have leveraged the mindset, then you can actually talk about something more exponential value things called digital twins. Now, there is in complex industry, there cannot be a single digital twin. I always use the term that there will be a digital twin of digital twins. So this can be really all these implementations, especially because of pandemic, a large number of cloud implementations actually got accelerated as well in the industry. So we can actually manage that. And the couple of lessons that we have learned, like one is very important, that if you really want to succeed in this or mature in the paradigm of Industry 4.0, one has to really think about co-innovating solutions and be technology agnostics but more of a domain-driven problem solutions that you have to build. And actually, one of the other important thing is that one really needs to understand how to really adopt this technology at a pace faster than what we have been doing over the last couple of years. And as a result, what can happen is you can start building highly cognitive systems. And in order to do that, you need what I call the avatar talent. And that is critical if we are looking at the next generation workforce to actually contribute significantly, and we can do actual knowledge transfer to them, especially if I talk in energy sector. We know that a lot of senior people are retiring, but as I said, that knowledge management systems have not been really up to par to actually take advantage of transferring the knowledge from one generation to another. Hence, it's very important to have mature digital systems for actually taking advantage of the next generation workforce. Once we have actually taken into these things in considerations, build the right data platform, one can actually look at what I call the dataverse. And the dataverse has to be domain dominated, because you can actually use technology, you can buy databases, you can buy data warehouses, data lakes, whatnot. But in order to maximize the value and really talk about real-time operation excellence, one has to really think in the domain perspective. And in order to do that, one really need to actually, what I shall call is, have a holistic view of the business, so to say, or the industry, not just a small department within the organization, and actually lead it from what I call from the edge to the office in sort of a view. And that requires that we can actually leverage all the modern computing paradigms. And that allows you to do what I call real-time resource optimization, so that you can actually gain what is called continuous transformation across. And as we do that, we can actually be part of more mature in Industry 4.0 and beyond. In fact, we can talk about Industry 5.0 revolution as well. So in some sense, one can generate exponential value by really what I call leveraging the modern cloud computing paradigm, increase the automation for actionable insights. And of course, the foundation actually lies in doing data science at scale on the data that you have, and then converting your data from, as I call, dark data to smart data on an ongoing basis. And when you do that data science at scale, basically you can focus on three things. And those three things are basically that how do I actually optimize the workflows, since most of the workflows in most of these industries, manufacturing, energy, transportation, and all of them are highly complex and multivariate. And in order to reduce the compute cycles, one can actually look at optimization. And where you can optimize, then you start automating those things, workflows and product services, etc. And then you can actually really start then thinking of building some innovative solutions like the digital twins of various components, so that you can actually start building the digital twin for the whole platform. But in order to do that, couple of things that needs to be done is that you have to break down the silos across the organization. You have to really tame the multiplicity problem that exists within our companies about the data, the information, the knowledge. And of course, we know that most of the industries lack what is called the data provenance. And of course, we lack model provenance and information provenance as well. So those things have to be really taken care of. And of course, I am sure many of you face this problem, who owns the data, and that challenge has to be addressed. Once we can address those challenges, I can tell you that leveraging the cloud computing paradigm, the sensor IoT and industrial IoT paradigm, the next generation 4G, 5G, 6G networks, right? And then one can start building, leveraging what I call the immersive reality solutions. We can actually address these things in a much more comprehensive manner. And of course, with this, the challenges of cybersecurity come into place. But we all know that those are also tameable challenges with the right technologies and the right governance framework that can be developed and deployed at scale across the organization. And some technologies like blockchain certainly can help us there. And in order to really maximize the value, for Industry 4.0 maturity, one can actually take advantage of this ecosystem that I presented you. Many of these things that I have spoken to you have been published in various articles. For example, if you want to learn more about oil and gas industry, those are 2 books. They are not mine, but somebody else's. But they actually talk about some of the challenges the industry faces. But other implementations and how we have done the transformation has been actually published in various articles. With that, I especially thank all of you for listening patiently, and happy to take any questions if the MC allows us to take.